Okay, this is LeetCode 165 compare version numbers. Given two version strings, version 1 and version 2, compare them. A version string consists of revisions separated by dots. The value of revisions is its integer conversion, ignoring leading zeros. To compare the version strings, compare the revision values in left to right order. If one of the version strings has fewer revisions, treat the missing revisions values as 0. So what we do know is if it's version 1 that's bigger, than version 2, we will return -1. And then it's the case for the other one. For, let's say, version 1 is bigger than version 2, return 1. Examples for version 1, it shows 1.2. Version 2 says 1.10. And since we know 10 is bigger than 2, it will just return -1 since that's for version 2 being bigger. For example 2, it has leading zeros. Ignoring the leading zeros, it will just be 1. And then for version 3, since the rest is all zeros, it will just return 0 since it's equal in that sense. So how I initially approach this problem is knowing that Python has a split function. So if we do something like, let's say version or varray1, we can do like version1 dot split, and this will essentially split up all of the versions. Let's say for the first one of 1.2, 1.2 will become an array of characters or strings that will be like this. Now, for our case, or at least how I initially solved it, although later on I'll show a more cleaner version of this using um, better Python tools, but a my initial version, I converted all of these into integers. So I just did a list comprehension of, let's say, a for a in, there we go. So what this essentially does is it will first split up, give us that initial of the 1 and 2, or I guess first it gets the 1 and then it sees that for a, which is the 1, it will convert it to an integer. And then I did the same exact thing for version 2. 2 is 2. And then after that, what I was thinking of is going left to right, so looping through and just comparing the integer values, and converting also to integer deals with this leading zero case, because 0, 1 and 0, 0, 1 convert to integer will both be 1, so example 2 will be solved. Now it's just comparing it left to right, so I was thinking of having a while loop that iterates all the way through and just compares it. So let's say if we do a while loop where we first find the minimum of the array so that it does not exceed whatever values, because if one of them is bigger than the other, as we can see from example 3, it will cause an error as it's trying to go to the third index of version 1 as it does not exist. So it's just the minimum for now. And we just compare it. So let's do version 1, then version 2. From this, it's this one that returns 1. Let's do the other case. That becomes -1. And then if it's neither, we will just iterate through. There is a cleaner way to do this actually. What we can do instead is if, um, let's say the values is actually just not equal. Oops, I realized I made a mistake here. Okay, there we go. Let's say version 1 I does not equal version 2 I, then we can just return 1 if, let's say, version 1, yep, or is greater than version 2. And else it will be -1. So if it's not this case, we would just iterate it once. And after it loops through all that, it will get the lowest case, and then after that, we just need to check the other two cases just in case. So let's say if um, there's still more of array 1 that needs to be iterated through, then we can just do this to where it will check for array 1 if it's greater than 0, since the rest of the other version, like for this one, the rest of them will be 0. So if this was like 1001, version 2 will be bigger. So if it's such a case, we'll return 1 for this one. Yeah, of course, I needs to be iterated over. And let's just repeat it for the other version. Let's be negative. We don't need to worry about resetting um, I for either, because if it's not this case, it will 100% be this case because of how we're trying to get the minimum here. And since it went through all of that, if it passes through everything, hold on 1 second, there you go. It should be returning 0. Let's test that. Nice. Okay, that works. So now how can we actually make this even better solution? So what we can do is there's something within Python's iterator tools. I believe it's like this. I might be wrong, but within that there's a function called zip longest. With zip longest, it's actually able to do the normal zip function. And first, let me just go through an example of what a zip function will do. Let's say we have something like a 1, 2, 3, and another list of 4, 5, 6. Let's do 7. If we zip it, and let's select for A, B, and then zip of those two arrays, and let's just say we print it out, it will A and B will be printed out like this, like 1, 4, 2, 5, and 3, 6, and it will stop right there because it's the shortest one. But what zip longest do? If we do zip longest, there's also a fill value which we can set. Let's say for 0, then it can be like 0, 7, because now this, whoever's left, will be 0 or whatever fill value. So we can use that and actually make this really short. So let's try that. So for A, B in zip longest of version 1 dot split. So let's split it. And now let's split the other one, version 2 dot split. And let's make the fill value. Instead of putting it all to integer, let's deal with that later. Let's just start it off by putting the character 0. So it will be filled as 0, and then now let's change it. The reason why is because that means we don't have to change as many. It's just the first occurrence where it's different that would be changed. So it's less operations that's being done. So both the integer of A, integer of B, and then if IA does not equal IB, we could just return 1 if IA is greater than IB, else it's -1. Then now it's just returning 0. So we just create one that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines long compared to however long the other one was. And oop, forgot a colon right here. Let's see. Yep, and there you go. That's the LeetCode 165 configure version numbers. Hope that helps.